What she secretly feels when you don't chase her? Old Stoic wisdom. What if I told you the most impactful thing you could do after she walks away is nothing? No chasing, no long explanations, no late night texts begging for closure, just silence. Not as a tactic, but as a testament to your self-respect, your emotional discipline, your unshakable core. This isn't about mind games. It's about mastering yourself. There once was a man who gave everything, his heart, his loyalty, his peace, to someone who didn't recognize the value of any of it, and when she left, it nearly broke him. But instead of pleading for her return, he stayed with the pain. He didn't escape it. He faced it. And in that silence, he began to rise, not as the same man, but as something stronger. He built something no one could take from him again. Inner stability. You see, women, like all of us, can feel the shift in energy. When you stop pursuing, stop validating, and simply withdraw, something unexpected happens. She starts to notice the weight of your absence, not because you've vanished, but because the version of you that needed her approval no longer exists. This video is about that moment, the psychological impact of not chasing, and how silence, when rooted in strength, speaks volumes. If you've ever given your power away, if you're tired of explaining yourself to someone who never truly listened, if you're ready to stop bleeding for people who wouldn't even hand you a bandage, then you're in the right place. We don't beg here, we rebuild, and silence is the foundation. If that resonates with you, hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and let me know in the comments where your silence led you. 1. The echo of silence. Don't fall for the modern noise. Be the rare man who understands that silence isn't absence, it's power. When you choose silence, you're not disappearing. You're making the boldest move most men today are too emotionally undisciplined to even attempt. You're rejecting the emotional bait. You're stepping off the hamster wheel of validation, approval, and needy pursuit. And believe this, that silence doesn't just float off into space. It lands, it echoes, it rumbles like thunder through her mind. It confuses, then intrigues. And that's when the shift begins. See, most men panic when she pulls away. They collapse, they beg, they drown her in texts, in frantic energy, in paragraphs full of confusion and hurt disguised as vulnerability. But all that noise? That's exactly what she expected. That confirms her choice. That tells her she still owns you, that you're still orbiting her like a loyal moon chasing a planet that's already turned away. But you go quiet. You lean into an iron mind. You vanish, not in a petty, passive, aggressive way, but into purpose, into discipline, into the quiet strength of a man who knows his own value. You become the living embodiment of Stoic principles. You focus on your path, your mission, your peace. That is where you must live. That is where Old Stoic wisdom shines the brightest. Because the silence you keep, it isn't absence, it's self-mastery. It's a controlled burn that clears away the weakness and leaves only power. At first, she'll shrug. She'll pretend it doesn't matter. She'll post something vaguely triumphant online, some quote about healing or letting go. Don't take the bait. That's the test. That's the moment when lesser men break and reach out. You must not. Because beneath that performance, questions start to rise. Did you give up? Did someone else capture your attention? Are you happy without her? That uncertainty, that's the birthplace of curiosity. And curiosity is the ember that often becomes regret. She starts watching your online presence like a hawk, not liking anything, of course. That would be too obvious, but watching, quietly. She wants to know where your attention is, and the fact that it's no longer on her, that changes everything. Now, you're no longer predictable. You're no longer safe. You are suddenly a mystery. And that, my friend, is intoxicating. Old Stoic wisdom tells us that to influence others, we must first command ourselves. Silence is the purest proof of that command. You're not ghosting her. You're not being cruel. You're choosing dignity over drama, power over pleading, stillness over reaction. Don't let the world confuse control with coldness. There's nothing colder than a man who reacts without reason. Be the opposite. Be deliberate. Be still. Let your silence speak truths that noise never could. That's not weakness. That's legacy. And in that silence, you become unforgettable. She won't admit it. She might never say a word, but inside, you've shaken the ground beneath her feet. That's what Stoic principles demand, not manipulation, but mastery. Not performance, but peace. And when your silence comes from strength, not ego, it becomes the loudest language she's ever heard. Never forget. The man who doesn't chase is the man she never forgets. Be that man. Let your silence roar. 2. The mind game. She didn't see coming. She expected a script. She's seen it 100 times, played it 100 more. The same worn-out scene, the same predictable moves. She pulls away, and you chase. She goes cold, and you scramble to apologize. She creates distance, and you try to close the gap. That's the game. That's how the dance usually goes. But not this time, because you've changed the rhythm. You've studied the old Stoic wisdom. You've chosen a different path, the path of mastery over the self. So this time, you didn't flinch. You didn't beg. You didn't explain, justify, or plead your case like a man on trial. You simply stepped back, quietly, calmly, confidently, and in that silence, you flipped the entire game on its head. She didn't expect this. She was ready for a storm, not stillness. She was armed for a fight, not faced with detachment. You broke the pattern. You became the still mountain instead of the rushing stream. That's the twist that unsettled her. Not rage, not bitterness, but the sheer, unnerving calm of a man who's no longer moved by emotional bait. He who angers you, controls you. Xerenia, Stoic rule, number 14, never forgotten. And now, she's alone with her thoughts, with the silence, with the absence of your reactions. No more buttons to push, no more chaos to create. Because you took the control panel away. You shut the whole emotional machine down. This isn't manipulation. This is practical stoicism at work. This is what happens when a man understands that self-mastery beats emotional reactivity every time. Don't chase what runs. Don't explain what doesn't ask. Be still. Be certain. Be a man who lives by the Stoic rules. You see, a woman expects to be chased, not because she's cruel, but because she's conditioned to it. She thinks that distance increases her value. That withdrawal builds desire. She's playing the game she's been taught to play. But a man walking the paths of wisdom doesn't play games. He doesn't react. He reflects. He doesn't chase, he chooses. He doesn't crumble under pressure, he thrives in it. That's not coldness. That's clarity. A man who doesn't react wildly is not indifferent. He's in control. And in today's world, that kind of calm is powerful. It's rare. It's magnetic. It's unsettling in the best way. So when she pulled back and you didn't bite the bait, she felt it. The power shift, the end of the old game, the beginning of something she hadn't prepared for. A man who doesn't dance to her rhythm but walks his own. That's Stoic strength in action. Don't let temporary emotions drag you into permanent mistakes. Don't let someone's silence force you into desperate noise. Be unmoved. Be composed. Be dangerous in your calm. Remember, a man on the paths of wisdom knows the one who remains silent holds the strongest position in any battle. Let her feel the weight of your absence. Let her hear the echo of the stillness you left behind. And let her learn what happens when a man stops reacting and starts leading. 3. Rejection is redirection. She walked away. She ghosted. She gave you the talk. It stung. It knocked the wind out of you. But don't get it twisted. That wasn't the end. It was a turning point. A hard reset. A clean break. Rejection is redirection. She didn't destroy you. She freed you. What felt like a loss was a win in disguise. What looked like heartbreak was your breakthrough in waiting. You thought she was your peace, but she was your distraction. She pulled your focus from your mission, your power, your purpose. You were chasing her when you should have been chasing excellence. That stops now. This is where the old wisdom kicks in. Epictetus didn't say, control others. He said, control yourself. That is stoicism. That is power. That is how men win. You must not crumble. You must rise. Stop asking, why did she leave? Start asking, why did I drift from my path? The Stoics knew it thousands of years ago. True strength is forged in the fire of rejection. Real men don't chase what runs, they attract what aligns. You don't beg for what you are, you become it, you embody it, you live it. Pain is fuel, use it. Get silent, get still, get disciplined. No more texting, no more waiting, no more hoping. You hit the gym, you crush distractions, you upgrade everything, your habits, your mindset, your body, your discipline. This isn't a setback, this is a setup. You are not broken, you are being rebuilt, you are not lost, you are being redirected. That is what rejection is. It's a test. Pass it. Win with stoicism. Win with strength. Win with silence. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." That's not just a quote, that's your new strategy. She walked away? Good. Now you walk toward yourself, toward mastery, toward victory. You don't chase her, you chase purpose. You chase greatness. You chase discipline. And you chase it like your life depends on it, because it does. Understand this. Rejection isn't punishment. It's preparation. Life is giving you another shot to become the man you promised yourself you'd be. She didn't see your worth? Perfect. Now you prove it to yourself. You build your value so high it becomes undeniable. That's the Stoic way. That's the Epictetus mindset. That's how you win. Don't dwell. Don't replay the past. Don't wait for a text that never comes. Don't give her the power of your attention. Take your power back. Stand up. Straighten your spine. Square your jaw. Reclaim your throne. This isn't the end, it's the beginning. Your redirection is here. Your mission is clear. Reject weakness. Reject desperation. Embrace discipline. Embody strength. Let's get back to what matters. Let's get back to you. Let's win. Not for her, not for revenge, but for the man in the mirror. You don't need closure. You need clarity. And now you have it. She didn't reject you. She unleashed you. If this message resonated with you, like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and hit subscribe for more timeless wisdom. Positive affirmation. Rejection didn't break me, it redirected me. Comment to remember. Rejection didn't break me, it redirected me. Let's build strength in silence. Drop that in the comments and claim your growth. 4. The weight of regret. She thought she knew the script. Walk away, flip her hair, disappear, and you'd chase her like a man possessed. That's what she banked on. That you'd unravel, crumble into desperate messages and late night calls, playing the fool she imagined. She expected to see your iron mind rust in her absence, but instead, you didn't move, you didn't chase, you didn't flinch. You sat with the silence, the kind of silence born not from weakness, but from the old Stoic wisdom carved deep into men who've tasted loss, pain, and self-respect, and learned not to beg for what walks away willingly. And that silence, it wasn't empty. It was precise, surgical. It didn't scream, it echoed. It didn't plead, it pierced. It looped in her mind, not because it said too little, but because it said everything. You see, she expected fireworks. What she got was stillness. She braced for drama, but you gave her peace. And let this be clear, peace is louder than pain. Pain is messy and predictable, but peace, when held by a man who lives by Stoic principles, shakes the ground. You didn't spiral, you stood still. And standing still in the storm is not weakness, it is power. It is the discipline of an iron mind. It is the sound of a man who refuses to trade his dignity for a second chance. That unnerved her, because now your absence isn't just a blank space, it's a mirror. And in that mirror she sees herself more clearly than ever before. She didn't count on time revealing truth. Time doesn't favour impulse, it exposes it. She acted fast, maybe out of emotion, pride, or the illusion of options. But you didn't. You understood that space reveals character. And now her imagination has become your ally. Her thoughts, once about power and control, are riddled with questions. Your name, once a certainty in her life, is no longer just a name. It's a question mark, a mystery, a what if. That's the sting of regret, when clarity comes too late and pride costs too much. Don't let anyone fool you. Detachment isn't indifference, it's strength. It's the kind of strength that only comes from living the old Stoic wisdom, to master the self, to act rather than react, to hold the line when everything inside you wants to collapse. She underestimated your stillness because she never understood the discipline it takes to say nothing, to do nothing, to let go. But that's where the iron mind lives. Not in chasing, not in pleasing, but in knowing that a man who walks in truth doesn't flinch when the door closes. You must remember this. Peace is not the absence of love. It is the presence of self, respect. And that's what she felt in your silence. Not cruelty, not coldness, but composure. The kind that can only come from Stoic principles deeply lived, not casually quoted. You didn't chase, not because you didn't care, but because you care about the right things now. Your soul, your focus, your dignity. That's the real weight, not the loss of her, but the rise of you. 5. The shift in power. Power doesn't beg, it doesn't bargain, and it certainly doesn't chase. Power is. It's quiet. It doesn't perform tricks. It doesn't send 2 AM texts or craft clever emoji combinations hoping to reignite a spark. It simply stands still, unmoved. You pulled back. Not out of spite. Not to teach her a lesson. No, you stepped back because you stopped feeding the illusion. The constant chase, the dance, the endless seeking of approval. It was a game. And you chose to leave the arena. And like any system dependent on energy, once the fuel stopped flowing, it collapsed. She felt that. Don't think for a second she didn't. Most men panic here. They feel the void and scramble to fill it. They confuse silence for rejection. They fear they're being forgotten. So they come running back, louder, needier, weaker. But you didn't. And that's when everything started to change. You didn't withhold affection to manipulate. You became indifferent, not out of bitterness, but out of discipline. There's a massive difference. You embraced practical stoicism. You understood one of the foundational Stoic rules. Control what you can. Let go of what you can't. Never beg for what isn't freely offered. This is the path of wisdom. Let's not sugarcoat it. Indifference is powerful, not the fake kind that's loud and defensive, not I don't care whatever type nonsense. I'm talking about the calm, grounded kind, the kind forged in silence and solitude, the kind of indifference born from doing the inner work. You didn't just stop chasing her. You started choosing yourself. That subtle but seismic shift, she feels it now. And it shakes her, because suddenly she's not the sun you orbit. You're not circling anymore. You've become your own sun, radiating quietly yet unmistakably. This confuses her. It interrupts the pattern. The rules of engagement are now foreign to her. And if she was testing your neediness, guess what? You passed with flying colours. She thought you were like the rest. You weren't. This is the strength found in Stoic rules. No whining, no complaining, no chasing shadows. Just a man, calm, centred, unmoved, living by principle, not impulse. So what does she feel now? She feels the loss of control. She senses your presence, even in your absence. She remembers how you made her feel and wonders why that same power now belongs to you alone. She replays the moments, the ones where she expected you to react, and you didn't, where she tested your ego, and you didn't flinch, where she withdrew, and you didn't chase. That shakes her more than any argument ever could. Understand this. Chasing never earned respect. It may have bought time or attention or momentary validation, but never respect. And without respect, love is nothing but theatre. So be still, be disciplined, be stoic. Let her feel the vacuum your absence creates. Let her wrestle with the silence. Let her reflect, not because you're punishing her, but because you've risen above the need for permission. This is not cruelty. This is clarity. Don't mistake distance for defeat. Don't fill the silence with noise. Don't give up your centre for fleeting attention. Stay firm. Walk the path of wisdom. Let your stillness speak louder than words. Because when you stop chasing, you don't lose her, you find yourself. And that's where true power begins. And if you find today's content very interesting, please give me a word of encouragement by commenting "very interesting" in the comments section. That is a huge motivation for us. Thank you. 6. She watches, even in silence. Don't be fooled by silence. Don't misread her lack of likes, her absence from your inbox, her cold distance. She's watching, always watching, even when it looks like she's disappeared. She watches through mutual friends, ghost accounts, social media shadows, and the digital fingerprints you leave behind. In a world where everything is tracked, attention has become invisible, but no less intense. At first, it was curiosity. Then it turned into concern. Now it's something else entirely. Obsession. Not with who you were, but with who you became. You see, you evolved. You detached. You stopped chasing. You embraced stillness that wasn't supposed to happen. You were supposed to break. You were supposed to stay weak, stay available, stay needing her validation. But you didn't. And that's what she can't stop watching. Let me tell you this. The quiet power of a man who has mastered himself speaks louder than any argument, any desperate message, any emotional display. She expected to see a man unravel. Instead, she saw you rebuild. Stronger, quieter, more focused, more dangerous. That's what Stoicism teaches. As Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." You stopped chasing her and started chasing your own potential. That is the victory. That is how you win. That is how you rise. This is the essence of Stoicism. You win not by chasing what runs, but by standing still in the storm. Calm, centered, grounded. You don't beg, you don't flinch, you don't explain. You exist in peace. And peace, when achieved through discipline, purpose, and pain, screams louder than drama. It haunts her. She doesn't understand it, but she feels it. That silence you now live in, it echoes in her mind. That's the kind of noise that cannot be ignored. That's the kind of energy that pulls without trying. That is Stoicism. That is power. That is the win. You must remember, this is not about revenge. This is not about playing games. This is about reclaiming your crown, about rising from weakness to strength, from neediness to mastery, from reaction to command. Let your peace confuse her. Let your growth convict her. Let your absence say what your presence no longer will. That's how kings move. That's how Epictetus lived. That's how Stoics win. You were not made to beg. You were made to build. Don't chase her. Build yourself so high she has to look up just to remember what she lost. Your stillness is your strength. Your silence is your strategy. And your detachment? That's your dominance. Let her watch. Let her obsess. Let her try to figure out how you became untouchable, because now you've become something else. Rare, dangerous, unshakable. In today's world, men are trained to be reactive, to always reach, to always explain, to always pursue. Don't do it. Be the contrast. Be the wall she can't penetrate, the mountain that doesn't move. You are not a follower. You are not a beggar. You are a man of stoicism, of fire, forged peace, of unshakable purpose. That is the standard now. That is the path. Walk it with pride. Let her wonder. Let her regret. Let her learn what happens when a man becomes sovereign. Stay strong. Stay silent. Stay watched. And remember, Epictetus never chased. He conquered himself, and that is how you win. 7. Scar tissue is armor. Don't let anyone fool you. Heartbreak doesn't just sting. It carves deep. It leaves its mark in places you didn't know could ache. You gave love, raw and full, and got silence in return. You reached out and found nothing but absence. No comfort, no closure, just you and the hollow echo of what could have been. But that's not the end of your story. That's the beginning of your evolution. Because here's the brutal, liberating truth. Scar tissue is armor. That pain you lived through. You didn't just survive it. You transmuted it. You didn't sit in bitterness. You built an iron mind. You didn't wallow, you rose. And now, you wear your scars like medals, not shackles. You've become a man who doesn't need to chase because he's learned the old Stoic wisdom. Validation never comes from her. It comes from within. She felt it when you stopped chasing. Trust that. The silence wasn't empty, it was loud. Loud with questions she didn't know how to answer. When you pulled back, when you stopped fighting for someone who made you bleed without a second glance, you did something powerful. You rebalanced the scale. You let her sit in the stillness you once filled with effort, kindness, devotion. That absence, it echoed. And here's what old Stoic wisdom teaches us. Detachment is strength, not surrender. You didn't stop caring, you started caring more about yourself. And that's where your power is. Be proud of the evolution. Be proud that you can still feel without falling apart. Be the man who has felt the fire, but now carries it inside rather than being burned by it. Stoic principles teach us to embrace suffering, to extract meaning from the pain, and to never let temporary emotion derail long-term dignity. She may never know how deeply you felt, or maybe she does, and that's what haunts her, that you were willing to give it all, but you were also willing to walk away. That's power. That's clarity. That's what it means to embody an iron mind. You loved her, yes, but you love yourself more now. You love your peace. You protect your energy like the treasure it is. Don't chase what doesn't return. Don't beg for bandages from the one who caused the bleeding. Be the man who doesn't run from pain, but absorbs it, processes it, and walks taller because of it. That heartbreak, it made you harder to break. That silence you got from her, it taught you the language of strength. You now speak fluently in Stoic principles, discipline, control, clarity, and detachment. That doesn't make you cold, it makes you rare. It makes you dangerous in the best way. Scar tissue is armor, yes, but more than that, it's a map, a record of the battles you've survived, the lessons you've learned, and the values you now refuse to compromise. Don't cover those scars. Display them. Let them speak for you. Let them remind you and her that you were willing to feel everything. And now, you've chosen to feel free. Be the man who doesn't chase. Be the man who builds. That's how you win. That's how you rise. That's the legacy of old Stoic wisdom. If this message speaks to your growth, like the video, share it with someone rising from their own ashes. And don't forget to subscribe for more timeless wisdom. Comment to remember. My scars are not weakness, they're my armor. 8. When detachment becomes desire. She sent the text. Short, deliberate, laced with just enough ambiguity to bait you into a reaction. But you didn't bite. She waited for the usual. The long reply, the backtracking, the "what's wrong?" or "are you okay?" She expected the chase. Instead, she got serenity. And that calm, it didn't feel weak, it felt untouchable. The quiet that echoes. You see, most men follow the same script. She pulls away, they panic. She tests them, they fold. She creates space. They rush in to fill the silence. But not you, not anymore. You've learned something deeper. You've walked the paths of wisdom. And what you discovered was this. You don't earn love by begging for it. You don't secure connection by clinging to it. You become the kind of man who draws love naturally because of your lack of need. That's the essence of practical stoicism, the law of emotional gravity. Women, just like men, are drawn to strength, not bravado, not noise, but quiet, grounded certainty, and nothing speaks louder than the silence of a man who knows his worth. She expected emotion. You gave her equanimity. She expected fire. You gave her stone. And in that moment, she saw it. That you're not trying to win her over, because you've already won yourself. That's what Stoic rules teach us. Not to suppress what we feel, but to master what we allow to own us. Don't react. Respond to yourself. This is where most men fail. They confuse love with pursuit. They confuse attention with devotion. But when you stop chasing, not out of bitterness, but from clarity, you shift the entire dynamic. You stop pouring energy out. You let her feel the absence of your attention. And that absence, it's not emptiness. It's a mirror. It shows her exactly what she was holding. and what she just let go. Now she starts to question, why doesn't he seem bothered? Why does his peace feel louder than my silence? Did I lose something rare? She may not say it out loud, but deep down she's drawn in. Because you're no longer reacting to her moods. You're anchored in your mission, your values, your path. You are now the man. The pull of presence without pursuit. There's something mysterious about a man who doesn't chase, yet radiates desire. A man who can feel deeply, but doesn't fall apart. A man who doesn't need to be the loudest in the room because his presence speaks volumes. This is the man forged by practical stoicism. He's not just emotionally stable. He's emotionally valuable. He doesn't need drama. He doesn't need chaos. He simply walks the paths of wisdom and lets those who truly see him follow. Be the man who doesn't flinch. So here's the truth you've got to remember. Don't chase her. Don't prove yourself. Don't play the games. Instead, be rooted, be composed, be compelling. Let your peace be provocative. When you detach, not from love, but from the need to be needed, you become dangerously attractive because she's not used to it. She's used to men scrambling to keep her, not men who have already chosen themselves. And when she meets that man, that calm, that silence, it doesn't push her away, it pulls her in, with a force she doesn't fully understand. That's when detachment becomes desire. And that, my brother, is the game changer. 9. The revenge of reinvention. Revenge doesn't roar, it refines, it doesn't shout, it sharpens. Real revenge is not about getting her back, it's about getting yourself back. You don't chase, you rise. You stop trying to fix the version of yourself she discarded and start building the version you were meant to become. That is the essence of Stoic victory. That is how you win. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And this is your time to become a master, not of her, not of the past, but of you, of your emotions, of your direction, of your legacy. Don't chase her. Don't beg for validation. Don't look back. The old you is dead. Let him stay buried. Every time you feel the urge to prove something to her, prove it to yourself instead. Prove you can stay silent when noise would feel good. Prove you can stay focused when distraction is everywhere. Prove that you don't need her attention, you need your own respect. And when you command that, the world responds. Women notice, opportunities appear, strength replaces shame. That is Stoicism, that is power, that is how you win. Let's be clear, reinvention is not about revenge on her, it's about revenge on who you used to be. You don't rise for her to see. You rise so you can breathe. You rise to reclaim time, strength, and self-worth. You rise to dominate your purpose. Epictetus taught us to first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. That is the formula. That is the path. Reinvention is not a phase, it's a war, a cold war, silent, ruthless, relentless, and you must win. In today's world of shallow praise and digital masks, standing firm in your quiet evolution is a declaration of war on mediocrity. Be decisive. Be calm. Let your stillness speak. Let your improvement speak. Let your absence say everything that needs to be said. You don't chase a woman when you know your path. You don't seek closure from someone who wouldn't open the door when it mattered. Instead, you become a storm of discipline, a man reborn, a presence that can't be ignored because it doesn't need to be seen. This is how a man reclaims his power. This is how you become the prize. This is how you master life. Chase growth, chase purpose, chase peace. Don't chase her. She notices more in your silence than she ever did in your pleas. That's the paradox. That's the truth. And when you finally stop chasing, when you truly let go, that's when your reinvention begins. She won't say it, but she feels it. She sees the change, and it makes her question everything. Not because you said a word, but because you didn't have to. The old Stoics didn't waste breath on proving themselves to others. They mastered their emotions, shaped their reality, and let life speak for them. You must do the same. You must become so deeply grounded that no one's absence can shake your presence. Reinvention is your revenge. Let it be quiet. Let it be real. Let it be complete. Epictetus, Stoicism, win. Those 3 words are your code now. Live them, command them, and never look back. If you made it this far, you already understand. True power is quiet. Reinvention isn't about her. It's about you. About rising without noise, without permission, and without the need to be seen. Comment this below if you've started your silent rise. I don't chase. I evolve. Let others see you've stepped into your next chapter. 10. You were the storm, not the shelter. She once believed you were her safety net, the calm harbour in her emotional storm, predictable, steady, always there, like clockwork, the man who would catch her every time she wandered too far, pushed too hard, or pulled too much. But when she left, when she pulled that last thread and watched it unravel, something inside you didn't just crack, it shattered, and then it rebuilt, not into the soft, pliable version she once leaned on, but into something she never expected, something iron, unflinching, immovable. You didn't become less, you became more grounded, more dangerous, more you. Now, you're not the man she thought she outgrew. You're the storm she never learned how to stand in. And the worst part? You no longer wait for her to. You don't chase. You don't plead. You don't explain your silence like a child justifying his absence. Why? Because you already did that. You already broke yourself down into smaller, softer versions to keep her comfortable, and it got you nowhere but more invisible. So this time, you did something ancient, something almost forgotten in today's desperate culture of constant contact. You went silent. And that silence spoke volumes. She felt it. She noticed. And though she may never say it out loud, she wonders. She wonders why you're not reacting. Why the man she once pushed now walks like he owns the ground under his feet. She wonders what you're thinking, who you're becoming. She wonders if she ever really knew you at all. That's not manipulation. That's not some modern dating hack. That's evolution. It's the raw, ruthless refinement of a man who decided to stop bleeding for someone who never brought a bandage. You see, Stoicism, real, old Stoic wisdom, isn't about emotional repression. It's not cold apathy. It's clarity. It's choosing inner peace over performative pain. It's knowing the difference between genuine love and toxic attachment. It's an iron mind that doesn't buckle at the knees every time she flinches. A man anchored in Stoic principles doesn't lose himself when someone else walks away. He lets them, because he knows deep in his gut that his worth was never dependent on her recognition. What does she secretly feel when you don't chase her? Everything. Confusion, regret, curiosity, maybe even a quiet kind of admiration. But what about you? You feel freedom. You feel the steady rhythm of your own rise. Because when you let go of someone without letting go of yourself, that's when you truly win. That's when you stop surviving her absence and start building your own presence. This isn't heartbreak. This is the birth of your next chapter. This is the chapter where you don't play the fallback guy, the fixer, the emotional sponge. This is where you become a man who builds things, stronger boundaries, a clearer mind, a higher standard. Let her sit in the quiet she once begged for. Let her wrestle with the weight of a silence she thought meant victory. Because while she's wondering where you went, you're already 10 steps ahead, building a better life, living by old Stoic wisdom, becoming a man of action, not reaction. If you've made it this far, then brother, you know. You feel it in your chest. The storm didn't destroy you. The storm was you. And now? Now, she can't outrun what she used to run from. Be still. Be sharp. Be unmoved. You're not the shelter anymore. You're the storm she'll never weather again. Thanks for watching, my friend. If you found this video valuable, go ahead and give it a like. Share it with someone who might need to hear this. And don't forget to subscribe for more timeless wisdom like this. Got thoughts, questions, or a different take on what we talked about today? I'd love to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's have a real conversation. Until next time, stay grounded, stay sharp, and remember, you don't need to chase what's meant for you.